Patrick here again, and if you're here, you're probably looking for an answer to the question, should you or should you not buy the Umidigi A7S? Well, an answer I will give you. I'm going to do that by showing what's good and what not so good about the A7S. So stick with me and let's get right into it. So we're going to start with what's good on the A7S, and if we're going to start with what's good, I think the best place to start is the price. So the A7S comes at a lowly price of $78 if you're shopping on AliExpress, and for an Android phone in 2021, I'm sure you agree with me that that's very cheap. Umidigi has managed to keep the prices that low through some nifty scaling down in some areas on the smartphone, but I'll talk more on that when I talk about what's not good on the A7S. Moving on to the next good thing on the good things list of the A7S, we're going to talk about the specifications. So you get 2 GB of RAM, 32 GB of internal storage, and an MTK processor with a max clock speed of about 1.25 GHz. No stellar numbers by any margin, but when you factor in the price, it all makes sense. For context, consider the itel S16. That phone costs about the same amount as the A7S, but comes with just 1 GB of RAM and 16 GB of internal storage. Since we just talked about the specifications, the next logical place to turn our focus to will be performance. How often does it happen that a budget Android phone comes with good numbers in the specs department, or manages to flop when it comes to actual real-world performance? Well, thankfully that's not the case with the A7S. Through the period I've had this phone, I've not encountered so much of lags or stutters, and the UI UX feels very seamless. When doing routine day-to-day tasks, the phone manages to handle everything smoothly. But the key word is routine, and it all makes sense much later in the review when I talk about the shortcomings of the phone. But for now, what you need to know is that overall, the A7S is a very handy phone for doing the routine daily stuff you want to do with your smartphone. When talking about things like calls, messages, texting, or running light, not intensive applications. The COVID pandemic has got Umidigi donning their thinking caps, and for their own version of innovation, they've included a contactless infrared thermometer on the A7S. No one asked for this feature, but found it a tad bit handy in the few scenarios where I needed to take body temperature readings. It's not as accurate as the clinical thermometer, for instance, but it will surely detect the temperature swings that come with COVID, that's for sure. Another handy feature on the A7S, aside from the contactless thermometer, is the customizable button. I talked about this in my review of the A9 Pro, just like I talked about the thermometer, but I really like this feature. It makes using the phone way easier than you would expect, and you can pretty much map the button to any function on the phone, from opening applications to launching Google to switching on your flashlight and much more. And for the best part of it, you can set it to like 3 different states. So you can set it for just single click, double click, or long press. Really cool feature. With the good bits out of the way, let's quickly turn our focus to what's not so good about the A7S, starting with the weight. So the A7S is a very thick phone to hold. It's heavy and it looks very chunky. It certainly doesn't have any of that machine look you get on the A9 Pro, and to cap it all off, Umidigi has opted up for a plastic finish as opposed to the glass sandwich build you'll find on the A9 Pro. I do like the textured finish on the back cover of the A7S, and overall I'll still say it's not bad to look at and it still feels good. Just that with so much weight, you're going to notice this phone in your pockets, or maybe in when you hold it to take photos or watch movies or stream YouTube for extended periods. Next, we've got to talk about the performance, and this is where the point I made about routine apps comes back into the picture. The A7S was made to handle routine stuff, so if you're doing the basics on your smartphone, you're never going to run into any issues. However, if you ever try to do some performance heavy lifting, maybe run an app, run PUBG, or maybe run Call of Duty, this one is gonna pretty much grind to a halt. It wasn't designed to do any of that stuff. It wasn't designed to multitask 50 applications, and it wasn't designed to run high definition games. You just have to stick with the basics when you're using the A7S. A key reason performance is limited on the A7S is also because it's not running conventional Android 10. So what you get is Android 10 Go, and basically that's a stripped down version of Android built for smartphones that come without the top tier specifications you normally find in mid-rangers or premium grade Android phones. So Android 10 Go is stripped. It won't do the heavy lifting of normal Android 10, and also you get Go versions of normal Google applications like Gmail or like Photos. Everything is Go, so you get Gmail Go, Photos Go, and the likes. With the Android 10 Go issue out of the way, let's turn our focus to the camera situation on the A7S. Now, the A7S shoots fairly decent photos. You get good landscape and selfie shots, and I really don't have any complaint with that. What's however surprising is the portrait mode function on the main camera. So the problem is, unlike most other smartphones where the bokeh effect is kind of stimulated using some post-processing magic, on the A7S you just get a very blunt radial filter, and it doesn't look cool. It's just you better off switching it off totally than using it to get any of that bokeh stuff. That's pretty disappointing because, as you probably know, portrait photos look better with some bokeh, and the radial effect filter on the A7S doesn't come anywhere close to what bokeh looks like. So you've heard my ramblings, and if you've still not made a decision, let me give you a verdict. Should you buy the Umidigi A7S? Well, I would say yeah, if you're on a very tight budget and you're looking for an Android phone that does all the basic stuff an Android phone is supposed to do. You'll be hard pressed to find another smartphone that does as much as the A7S for the price. That being said, there are significant drawbacks to the phone, and if you've got some change to spare, then you'll be better off getting a slightly pricier smartphone that does everything well. An example of such a phone is the Alcatel C21, but don't tell Umidigi I told you any of that. Thanks for watching, and see you another time.